3.9. That's a number off a Treadmill printout, and for a veteran with heart disease, it can be worth almost $47,000 a year. And the twist most veterans miss? Your cardiologist doesn't set that number. A rating examiner does. So today we turn that Treadmill number into a paycheck. And hold on to this, it pays off later. There's a second heart condition on this list that never touches a treadmill. It rates on episodes you can count on your fingers, and most veterans never write a single one of them down until the record is empty and the claim stalls.
Think of it like a ceiling test for your heart. I'm Kim, and the rulebook is 38 CFR 4.104. It calls this the general rating formula for diseases of the heart. A single MET, one metabolic equivalent, is just a unit of effort. Sitting still is 1 MET. Climbing stairs is several. The test finds where your heart taps out.
And what does that unit actually buy you? Hey everyone, Leo here. Picture a dial running from 10 to 100%. The less effort your heart can take before it quits, the higher that dial climbs. The trend the whole formula follows is dead simple. Worse workload, bigger check.
Yeah, and they quietly rewrote it. Lewis, history's verdict on the old rule was that it leaned on your ejection fraction, the pump strength on an echo. Not anymore.
Careful though, that change cuts both ways. Since 2021, the workload test rules, so a veteran who used to lean on a low ejection fraction number now has to show the loss on the treadmill instead. Same heart, different proof.
And here is the piece that pays the most, for the right veteran. If you set foot in Vietnam, or anywhere the government concedes herbicide exposure, ischemic heart disease is presumptive, I'd put real money on that being the single most missed claim on this whole list.
Presumptive means the VA concedes the link. You don't have to prove how it happened. That's not the smallest part. That's the whole ballgame.
And it covers more than clogged arteries, coronary artery disease, congestive heart failure, the irregular rhythms like atrial fibrillation, even an aortic aneurysm. One formula, one rulebook, page by page.
Nothing we say today is opinion, by the way. It's the rating schedule, the VA's own rulebook, and we will name the exact codes. Before we open the formula, one question runs under every heart video we post, and Leo has been sitting on it. Leo, go ahead.
Happy to. The one everyone types is this. Can you actually get a VA rating for heart disease if you feel basically fine most days? And the honest answer is yes, more often than you'd think, if the workload test or your medication tells the real story. Feeling fine isn't the test.
That's exactly it. Feeling fine isn't the test, the treadmill is. So let's put a real veteran on that treadmill and watch the percentage move. And everything today, the full conditions list and a free tools page, lives at va.professorerica.com.
So what is the examiner really clocking on that treadmill? Not how you feel on a good day. How much work your heart can do before it complains, before the breathlessness, the angina, the dizziness show up. That one number runs almost every heart rating on this list.
Think of it like a staircase you climb until your heart taps out. Watch the rungs, 7 to 10 METs, or a heart that only stays steady on daily medication is the bottom rung, 10%. 5 to 7 METs is 30, 3 to 5 is 60, and 3 METs or less, or chronic heart failure is 100%.
The laxter reform section run catches people off guard. I'll own it. I treat my one good single malt on Fridays like a standing appointment I never miss. The VA treats your actual prescription the same way. If the disease needs continuous medication to stay controlled, that alone is 10%.
That's straight from the schedule if anyone wants to check. 7 to 10 METs, quote, or continuous medication required for control. The word required is doing the work. It's not a vitamin. It's a drug you can't come off without the condition breaking loose again.
So what happens to a veteran who physically can't run a treadmill? Do they just lose the whole rating?
No, and this is the safety valve most people never hear about. The regulation 38 CFR 4.100 lets the examiner estimate your METs from real activities. Slow stair climbing, shoveling snow. If a lab test is medically off the table, an informed estimate still counts.
Okay, one correction though. Chronic heart failure doesn't wait for the treadmill. It's 100% on its own.
Right, that jumps the ladder entirely, and so does a genuinely enlarged heart on an echo, which can carry 30% by itself. But here's the number I want you holding on to. The gap between a 60% heart and a 100% heart is just over $30,000 a year. Same disease, 2 extra minutes of workload apart.
Which raises the sharp question I keep getting, and it's the one that decides whether a claim is even worth the exam. So let me put it to the panel plainly.
Go on, Kim, ask it. That's the one people actually lose sleep over.
Fair. If the whole rating hangs on one treadmill test, what happens if you have a bad day or a good day at that appointment?
Honest answer, it matters, which is why you never treat that exam as a fitness contest. You are not there to push through. You are there to show, safely and truthfully, where your symptoms actually start. Push past them to look tough and you hand the rater a better number than your heart deserves? That settles the how. Next, the harder half. Getting the VA to agree the heart disease is connected to your service at all. Let me pause for just a second, because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming.
A rating is only half the claim. Think of it like a locked door, because before the VA pays a dime, it has to agree your heart disease is connected to your service. There are 3 separate roads in, and missing the easiest one makes the whole thing harder than it should be.
3 keys, 1 door. Road 1 is direct. The heart disease started in service or shows up in your service records. Clean, but honestly not the road most veterans need.
Road 2 is the one I keep circling back to, honestly. Herbicide exposure plus ischemic heart disease equals a presumptive. The VA concedes the connection, so you skip the hardest part of the whole process.
It's written down. 38 CFR 3.309. Coronary disease, heart attack, angina, bypass, all named.
And this is exactly where a good claim gets overconfident and hurts itself. So I want someone who does this every day. Let me get her on the line.
Glad to jump in, and you set up the trap perfectly. Veterans hear presumptive and assume every heart problem is covered. It's not. The presumptive is ischemic heart disease, coronary artery disease, a heart attack, angina, a bypass. That's the list. The regulation spells out what it leaves off, right there in Note 2. It doesn't include high blood pressure. It doesn't include atrial fibrillation. It doesn't include peripheral vascular disease or stroke. So a Vietnam veteran with AFib and a presumptive letter for coronary disease still has to connect the AFib some other way.
So what is the some other way? For the veteran who is not covered by the presumptive?
Road 3. Secondary service connection, under 38 CFR 3.310. If a condition the VA already pays you for cause the heart disease comes along with it. The classic one is service-connected diabetes. Diabetes damages arteries, and that ischemic heart disease is secondary to the diabetes.
And that road is wide open even if you never went near Vietnam.
Exactly, and it's underused. But whichever road you take, one thing never changes. You need a current diagnosis in the record. A heart condition that healed and left nothing behind is a hard claim. A documented, ongoing condition is the one that pays. That's where I'd start, and then I'll get off your line. Thanks for having me on.
That's the map. Direct, presumptive, or secondary, and a real diagnosis on all 3. Appreciate you jumping on, Ramona. Here's a real fork, and veterans argue it constantly. Say you already hold the presumptive for coronary disease at 30%. Leo says chase every extra point you can, the upside is huge. Kim says file precise. A weak claim can cost you months. Let's pressure test it.
Chase it. If your workload has slipped since that first rating, an updated stress test could move you from 30 to 60 or higher. The trend on this stuff only goes one way with age. Leaving that unfiled is leaving the biggest check on the table.
Slow down. Filing to move a rating means a new exam and a new decision can go sideways. If your workload actually improved, say you started medication and you're steadier now, you can reopen a claim and hand them a reason to look twice.
Kim, name the real risk. What actually goes wrong?
The exam captures a snapshot. On a genuinely good day, you might test at 8 MITs when your normal is 5 and the rater rates the snapshot. Page by page, the evidence has to say worse consistently or you're gambling.
But a snapshot cuts both ways. If your real number is 5, an honest exam shows 5, and that's the jump. You're describing a risk, not a wall. And remember the number Erica put up. $30,000 a year sits between 60 and 100%. I'd put real money on that being worth one honest afternoon.
It's worth it if the evidence backs it. That's my whole point. Get the recent stress test and the echo lined up first, then file. Don't file hoping the exam invents the decline for you.
So here's the panel's verdict, and the schedule backs it. If your workload has truly worsened, and the records show it, my recommendation is file the increase. $30,000 a year is real money. But if you're stable or improved, filing can hand the VA a reason to lower you, so line up the current evidence before you open that door, not after.
Fair, I'll give you that one, Kim. Chase it, but chase it with the paperwork in hand.
That's the ruling. File the increase when the evidence has already moved and never before. Now, the condition that plays by completely different rules.
This is the one Erica promised you up top. The heart condition that never touches a treadmill.
Atrial fibrillation and its cousins, flutter and atrial tachycardia. Diagnostic code 7010.
So how does it rate, if not on workload?
On treatment interventions per year, count them. 1 to 4 documented interventions is 10%.
Or continuous medication to control it, also 10%.
5 or more interventions in 1 year and it climbs to 30%. That's the schedule's own line if anyone wants to check.
And the word doing the work is documented, confirmed by ECG.
Which is the whole trap. Your heart races in the parking lot, it settles, you never go in. On paper, it never happened.
So go in every time. The ECG strip is your evidence.
This is a viewer's exact question, and it's a good one. Let me read it. Do I need to keep going to the ER every time my heart flutters to get rated? And the honest answer, no, but you do need it on your record somehow. An ECG at your clinic counts. A monitor your doctor ordered counts.
And one more thing, quickly. AFib is not on the Agent Orange list.
Right, it needs a direct or secondary link, same as scene 3. But once it's documented, it rates on its own, separate from your coronary disease. That's a second condition, a second slice of the check. A code doesn't pay anything, a percentage does. So let me turn the latter into a real paycheck in this year's numbers, effective last December.
Think of it like rungs with dollar signs. Start where a lot of coronary claims land. 30% for a veteran alone is $552.47 a month.
Now climb one rung. 60% moderate disease is $1,435.02 a month. Watch the gap open up.
So one rung, 30 to 60, is $882.55 more every single month.
Run it across a year. That's about $10,600. One rung.
And at the top, 100% chronic heart failure pays $3,938.58 a month. That's the ceiling.
But every one of those dollars runs through one form and one box, so let me show you the box. When you file, it goes on VA Form 21-526EZ, and the piece people fumble is item 16.
And you can keep it simple, right? Just write heart disease and let the rater sort it out.
That's exactly the mistake. Vague in that box and the rater guesses narrow. You name it precisely. Coronary artery disease. Atrial fibrillation, secondary to my service-connected diabetes. Each condition you name is a door you open. Each one you leave off stays shut.
Huh, Okay, I was wrong on that one. Naming each condition is the free money.
And the clock. When does back pay start?
The moment the VA stamps your claim as received. That's 38 CFR 3.400, the date of claim or the date your entitlement arose, whichever falls later. Holding out for a perfect week just donates months of back pay you'll never get returned.
The clock starts when you file. Which brings us to the honest part, when all of this is actually worth your afternoon and when it isn't. Is all of this worth your afternoon? Usually yes, but only if you match the road to the evidence you actually have. So here's the honest play, road by road. If you were exposed to herbicides and you have coronary artery disease, a heart attack, or angina in your record, the presumptive is the fastest, cleanest win on this entire list and the single most underfiled one. No exposure, you're not out. You chase it as secondary to a condition the VA already rates, and service-connected diabetes is the most common bridge to ischemic heart disease there is. And if your only heart issue today is well controlled on a daily pill, be clear-eyed. That's 10%, about $180 a month, worth filing, but not the jackpot some videos promise you.
And here's the caveat I'd add, page by page. Don't overreach on one form and undercut yourself. A weak, undocumented claim can stall the strong one sitting right next to it.
I look at it the way I look at the faint stuff on my telescope nights. It's only there if you actually track it patiently over time. Your workload, your ejection fraction, your AFib episodes, they only help you if the record follows them across the years, not one lucky snapshot.
And the mistake I've watched hurts people most isn't overreaching. It's the flutter nobody wrote down. The condition you never documented is the smallest part on paper, and it should have been real money.
That's the ruling then. The presumptive if you qualify, secondary if you don't, and document everything the moment it happens.
Which leaves one honest fork we genuinely can't settle for you, and it belongs to you and your cardiologist.
Because a treatment that controls your heart can also make your workload test look better. Better health, lower rating. It's a real tension, and there's no clean answer that fits everyone.
Treat the heart first, always. The rating follows the truth, not the other way around.
Here's the whole map in one line. Heart disease rates on MEATS, the workload your heart can take before it complains, and the less you can do, the higher the check. 3 roads to connect it, and a second condition, atrial fibrillation, that rates on episodes you have to document.
The piece I'd hold on to is that they dropped ejection fraction in 2021. It's the treadmill number now, so know your MEATS before you walk into that exam.
And the number that stuck with me, $30,000 a year, sits between a 60 and 100% heart. That's what documenting the decline is worth.
Mine's the presumptive, exposed veteran, coronary disease. The VA concedes the link, the most underfiled claim on the list.
So here's what to actually do this week. Open your VA health record and look for 2 documents, your last stress test and your most recent echo. If either one already shows reduced workload or an enlarged heart, the hard part of your claim is finished, it's just sitting there unsubmitted. And if this series is helping you climb the system, subscribing is what tells the algorithm to put the next benefit in front of the next veteran. Next time we stay on the conditions list, and here's the hook. There's one heart-related benefit that pays your spouse after you're gone, and most veterans never set it up. Wait until you see who qualifies. One last thing for the comment section because I'm genuinely curious. When your heart got rated, did an examiner sit you on a treadmill, or did they lean on your medication and your records instead? That is everything you need on this one. Thank you so much for watching. This is Professor Erica.